There are moments in military aviation history when the balance of power does not just shift, it snaps. The title, "When F-16 Falcons Ate Hawks for Breakfast," is not about arrogance. It is about a technological leap so dramatic that seasoned pilots felt it in their bones the first time they pushed the throttle forward. It is about the era when the lightweight, razor-sharp, high-G Predator known as the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon began to outclass older fighters in air combat exercises and real-world operations, including aircraft nicknamed Hawks, most notably the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk in historical comparisons and the Base Systems Hawk in modern training scenarios. But to understand how the Falcon ate Hawks for breakfast, we must go back to the 1970s, to a time when air combat doctrine was being rewritten in blood and contrails. The Vietnam War had exposed uncomfortable truths. Heavy, missile-centric fighters struggled in close dogfights. Radar was imperfect, missiles failed, rules of engagement forced visual confirmation. And when things got close and chaotic, maneuverability, raw, violent, energy-bleeding maneuverability, mattered again. The U.S. Air Force realized it needed something different. Not just another aircraft, a philosophy. The answer came in the form of a lightweight fighter concept championed by the Fighter Mafia, a group of reform-minded officers who believed air combat supremacy depended on agility, visibility, and pilot-centric design. What emerged was revolutionary. The F-16 wasn't just a jet. It was a statement. Its bubble canopy gave unmatched visibility. Its fly-by-wire system, radical at the time, allowed relaxed static stability, meaning the jet was intentionally aerodynamically unstable and constantly corrected by computers. This made it brutally responsive. Add to that a powerful Pratt & Whitney engine, a high thrust-to-weight ratio, and the ability to sustain 9G turns, and you had a Predator. Now imagine putting that Predator up against older Hawks. In simulated historical engagements, pilots flying the F-16 quickly realized how far technology had come since the days of the P-40 Warhawk. The Warhawk had been a rugged, courageous machine in World War II, flown by legends in deserts and jungles. But it lacked radar, modern avionics, beyond visual range capability, and the kind of sustained turn performance that a fourth-generation fighter could unleash effortlessly. If the P-40 represented bravery and grit, the F-16 represented evolution and dominance. But the more interesting comparison was with modern Hawks, the Bayhawk trainers used by air forces worldwide. The Hawk was never meant to be a frontline air superiority fighter. It was built to train pilots for jets like the F-16. And yet, in dissimilar air combat training exercises, Hawk pilots occasionally found themselves sparring with Falcons. The outcome: in most engagements, the F-16 dictated the fight. The Falcon's radar, speed, climb rate, and sustained energy performance allowed it to choose when to engage, when to disengage, and how to control the geometry of the fight. Hawk pilots often relied on clever tactics and surprise to score training kills. But in a clean, energy-managed fight, the Falcon's advantages were overwhelming. The difference was not just mechanical. It was generational. The F-16 was designed for modern warfare, to fire AIM-9 Sidewinders and later AIM-120 AMRAAMs, to integrate with AWACS, to receive targeting data from beyond the horizon. The Hawk, by contrast, was a stepping stone, agile and capable, but not built to hunt apex predators. And yet, the story is not simply one of superiority. It is one of evolution in doctrine. When the Falcon entered service in 1978, it forced other nations to rethink their fleets. Air forces around the world took notice. The jet was exported widely, flown by more than 24 countries. Its combat record expanded across decades, from the Middle East to the Balkans to Asia. In each conflict, the F-16 demonstrated adaptability, air superiority, ground attack, seed missions, precision strike. The Hawk, meanwhile, carved its own legacy, shaping the hands and instincts of future Falcon pilots. It was in Hawks that many F-16 aviators first learned to feel the sky, to manage energy, to anticipate angles and closure rates. But when the time came to step into the Falcon cockpit, they knew they were entering a different world. Pilots describe the first takeoff in an F-16 as transformative. The acceleration feels endless. The aircraft seems to read your thoughts. You do not wrestle it, you guide it. In a dogfight, The jet's nose authority allows snapshots that older designs simply cannot match. The combination of helmet-mounted cueing systems and high-off boresight missiles in later variants turned the Falcon into something almost unfair in close combat. Training exercises in NATO often revealed the same pattern. Hawk pilots could surprise. They could exploit complacency. But once the Falcon pilot recognized the geometry, managed energy, and kept speed in the optimal envelope, the fight tilted decisively. It was not cruelty. It was mathematics in motion. Energy equals life in air combat. The F-16 carried more of it, managed it better, and converted it into angles with brutal efficiency. Where a Hawk might bleed speed in a tight turn, the Falcon could sustain and climb out, resetting for another pass. This is why the phrase, "8 Hawks for breakfast," resonates. It captures the inevitability that comes when one generation meets another. But Part 1 is not just about dominance. It is about the birth of a mindset, one that prized agility over bulk, pilot awareness over brute force, and integration over isolation. The Falcon did not just outperform. It redefined expectations. Inside the dogfight, energy, instinct, and predator psychology. To truly understand how the F-16 earned its reputation, we must step into the cockpit and feel the pressure of 9 gigaseconds crushing the chest, the horizon spinning, the radar painting contacts, the warning tones chirping in your headset. Air combat is not cinematic chaos. It is geometry, physiology, and timing compressed into seconds. In a typical training scenario, 2 aircraft merge head-on at high speed. This is the merge. After that instant, everything depends on positioning. Nose authority, turn rate, energy retention. The Hawk, nimble and forgiving, can perform tight initial turns. In the hands of a skilled instructor, it can be deadly in training. But the F-16 was built around a simple idea: dominate the rate fight. Rate fighting is about sustaining turn performance over time. The Falcon's powerful engine and aerodynamic design allow it to maintain higher energy while turning. This means that even if the Hawk gains an early angle, the Falcon can outlast it, preserve speed, and eventually slide into firing position. Pilots often say, "Speed is life." The F-16 lives fast. Its fly-by-wire system prevents departures while allowing extreme control inputs. In older jets, pulling too hard could stall the aircraft. In the Falcon, computers interpret your command and extract maximum performance without crossing into catastrophe. That confidence changes how a pilot fights. Now layer in modern sensors. The F-16's radar extends awareness far beyond visual range. In real combat, the fight might never reach the merge. The Falcon can detect, track, and fire at targets long before a Hawk-class aircraft even knows it is threatened. With AMRAAM, missiles and network data from airborne early warning platforms, the Falcon becomes part of a lethal ecosystem. The Hawk, in contrast, thrives in training environments where rules simulate constraints. It teaches discipline, precision, and humility. But it is not designed to dominate fourth-generation fighters. Still, there have been moments in exercises when Hawks scored kills against Falcons. These moments became legend in squadron bars. They served as reminders. Never underestimate an opponent. Skill matters. Surprise matters. But when both pilots operate at peak performance, technology amplifies skill. The F-16's high angle of attack capability, combined with helmet-mounted sight systems in later upgrades, allows off-axis missile shots that older aircraft could never achieve. A Hawk might maneuver into what once would have been a safe zone, only to find a missile already tracking. This is where predator psychology comes in. Falcon pilots are trained to think 3 moves ahead. Manage energy. Control vertical space. Force the opponent into defensive posture. Once a Hawk goes defensive, bleeding speed and altitude, the Falcon can climb, roll inverted, and descend with renewed kinetic advantage. It becomes a cycle of pressure. In multinational exercises such as Red Flag, the F-16 often served both as aggressor and defender. When flying against older jets, its superiority was clear. When facing peer adversaries like modern flankers or advanced European fighters, the fight became more balanced, reminding everyone that dominance is relative. But against aircraft in the Hawk category, the generational gap was unmistakable. The Falcon was not just faster. It was smarter, more integrated, more lethal, and yet, none of this diminishes the Hawk's importance. The Hawk shapes the muscle memory that later makes Falcon pilots lethal. It builds the foundation. In a poetic sense, the Hawk gives birth to the Falcon. But in the sky, lineage does not guarantee survival. When the merge happens, physics decides. And physics has often favored the Falcon. Legacy of the Falcon. Evolution, exports, and the future of air combat. Decades after its first flight, the F-16 remains in service around the globe. Upgraded variants carry advanced AESA radars, electronic warfare suites, precision-guided munitions, and data-linked capabilities that would have seemed like science fiction in 1978. Meanwhile, the Hawk continues to train generations of pilots, evolving into advanced trainer variants capable of light combat roles. It remains respected, valued, and globally operated. But the narrative of Falcons eating Hawks for breakfast symbolizes more than matchups. It symbolizes technological acceleration. Air combat evolves in cycles. World War II fighters gave way to early jets. Early jets gave way to supersonic interceptors. Missile age optimism gave way to maneuverability rediscovered. The F-16 emerged from that rediscovery. It proved that a lightweight, agile, pilot-focused design could outperform heavier platforms in many scenarios. It influenced future designs worldwide. It demonstrated that cost-effective multirole fighters could achieve global success. Even as fifth-generation aircraft like the F-35 take center stage, upgraded F-16s continue flying combat missions. Their adaptability is part of their legend. The Hawk, for its part, remains a symbol of preparation. No Falcon pilot begins as a Falcon pilot. They are forged in trainers. They learn humility before dominance. So when we say the Falcons ate Hawks for breakfast, we are not dismissing the Hawk. We are acknowledging a moment in aviation history when one generation met another, and the sky made its choice. It was the triumph of fly-by-wire confidence over mechanical caution, of networked warfare over isolated engagement, of sustained energy over fleeting angles. It was not cruelty, it was evolution. And evolution, in the unforgiving arena of air combat, is everything.